My personal dream score for Drawn to Life 2 Realms is a 9.1. There. If that's all you wanted to see, there you go. You can leave the video now. Thank you for sticking around. This episode of Cleaning Out the Library will spoil the story for the entire canonical Drawn to Life series. If you have any interest in playing these games, go ahead and stop me here. I will wait for you to come back. They're seriously worth it if you can get your hands on them. They are almost 20 years old though, so if the only way you can play them is via emulator, then I won't recommend doing anything illegal or something like that. But if you don't care to play the games, or if you already know the story, then I'll stop yapping on. This is Drawn to Life, and we'll start in the beginning. First, there was the Creator, and in his book of life, he drew the world, painting gorgeous trees, fathomless oceans, and filled it with life. His creations, he drew life into them, the Raposa, the beings that would live and fill his glorious world. That world is long since left behind. The darkness came forth, and the Creator has long since left. His absence has allowed the world to fall into endless shadow and shade. With no way out and no hope for survival, one small Raposa cries to the heavens, begging and praying for the Creator to return. This is Mari, and you can choose to either answer her prayers or cut the last thread of salvation. But you'd have to be a real monster to do that. Also, you'll probably notice that I'm not showing much gameplay footage from the earlier entries. The first two games are DS exclusives, and emulation is, well, they're not in the library, so it feels a bit like cheating. I'll be using the wiki page to at least show some of the environments and visuals, though. So Mari cries to the heavens, asking for a savior for her town. The population is dwindling, and through the clouds of darkness, a voice finally answers.
I have heard your cry, and will provide a hero.
The Creator breathes life into an empty mannequin, and thus a hero, a savior, is born. With a quick touch, the eternal flame is lit and drives away the shadow, bringing light back to the doomed world. The rest of the game involves you going through levels, rescuing villagers, cleaning up the darkness, and collecting pages for the Book of Life, at the request of Mari and her best friend, Joey. The small village of Rapoville expands. There are soon fields of crops, beaches, observatories. Heck, you even save Mike! And if you're wondering, who the heck is Mike? Here. He's a human. It's seriously crazy how much mileage the game gets out of this single joke, but it was always hilarious. In a town full of weird little fox people, everyone's just asking where his ears are because they're not coming out of the top of his head. And he's just confused because he doesn't understand why he's surrounded by weird fox people. Another really important character is the first one that you save after beating the first boss, Heather. That's the name of the girl you save. The first boss is a dragon named Frostwind, not Heather. She's a young Raposa that doesn't really talk, and half of her face is covered in darkness. She hangs out with Joey for most of the first game, and sort of fills her role as an adopted child. Much to his chagrin, he starts off terrified of her. As you work and you bring all of these things back into the world, you fight back the shadows. The darkness still fights back. The leader of the shadows, a corrupted Raposa named Wilfrey, enacts his revenge. Not only is Wilfrey the source of the shadow in the first place, he drew in the Book of Life, putting himself on the same level as the Creator. This was the catalyst to the world getting devoured by shadow. He also takes the first opportunity he can to just kill Mari's father before he flees from the town. In your final confrontation with him, granted a sword by the Creator, the hero finally defeats Wilfrey and pushes back the darkness, saving the town, and they all lived happily ever after. Overall, the story is pretty simple, but that gameplay loop is just so strong. When I was a kid, Drawn to Life had me in its grip hard. Throughout the game, Joey constantly yearns for adventure. As you grow your city, he starts getting that chance. He gets invited to go exploring with some pirates and leaving his whole village behind. Once you beat Wilfrey and you see the credits, you get to see the outcome of his decision. Mari, having just lost her father and her best friend, sits alone on their secret beach, watching the ship pull away from dock. It's a real bittersweet farewell, but it can only happen because you saved the world. It's not a goodbye forever, it's just a see you next time. Look, when I was a stupid little 8-year-old, Drawn to Life became my autistic obsession. I'm gonna take the chance to talk about it. Also, I was in tears when at the end, Joey decides not to pursue his lifelong dream of adventure and instead chooses to stay in the town with Mari instead. If you've got a keen eye, you've probably noticed the clear bit of symbolism, but I'll touch on that more after I finish with the sequel. Drawn to Life 2, the next chapter, is the darker and edgier follow-up. I'll be sticking to the DS version. There's one on the Wii, but that one isn't canon, so it and the SpongeBob version won't be mentioned too much in the video. Which, if you didn't know that existed, now you do. The opening is a really cryptic sequence asking about some event that happened. It was dark and raining, thick black smoke. It all happened so fast. After waking up from a nightmare, Heather sneaks out of the house and makes her way to the secret beach, where she sees a washed-up treasure chest. When she opens it, there's a scepter inside. It's Wilfrey's. Within moments, he's taken over Heather's body, and with that, Wilfrey has returned. Joey wakes up the next day and discovers that Heather has gone missing. To help them search for her, Mari and Joey ask the creator for a hero. The creation menu gets brought up, and suddenly the world has started to lose its color. The light and life of the village begins to fade as the color is drained away. The villagers start to get whisked through portals as Wilfrey reveals himself and continues to just drain the town. The creator helps. You guide the villagers to a small island on the edge of the town, and a surprise twist, the island reveals itself to be a massive turtle for the villagers to escape with. After a bit of distance between the devastation and the turtle, the creator can finally create a new hero. This new mannequin has extra limbs and a new base, so you can do a lot of new creative things, in addition to new weapon types and new forms being possible too. As they leave, they discover a pendant left behind by Heather, which guides them to the first stopping point in their search, Watersong. This town is also losing its color. There are a few villagers here, and one that you don't recognize, Sock, who joins your crew to get it back to his village too. Not only that, but the mayor of the town, Rose, has fallen mute. The town thrives off its mayor's singing voice, so with Rose being unable to communicate, they're just doomed. Eventually, you learn the truth. She made a wager with a raposa named Salem. It's a singing contest, with the loser being unable to use their voice forever. This exposition is all told to you by Rose's butler and her son, Miles. Miles explains that the conch holding his mother's voice was hidden by Salem. After it's retrieved, Rose gets her voice back and tries to pass it down to Miles. They're interrupted by Salem, who quickly reveals himself to be Wilfrey, trying to destroy Watersong. Have a quick boss battle, and soon you can return to your turtle and rest. At least, the hero can rest. Mari's having a personal crisis, and she's come to the conclusion that she's not good enough to be the mayor. She compares herself to Rose and knows that she would have a hard time making the same decision to protect your people. Mari flat out decides that she's unable to lead well in a crisis. Joey, being the GOAT, comes to comfort her and makes a promise to help support her on the conch that Rose had also sworn on. It's a really heartwarming scene, and the next morning, Mari's gone missing. The crew agrees Mari probably got abducted by Wilfrey. So they follow the pendant, and it leads them to the next direction. Full speed ahead to Lava Steam. The city is just like Watersong. It's half-colored, except now, this city is being ruled by the iron grip of King Miney. He's forcing his citizens to mine crystals in the belief that it will keep his city safe. You learn from his brother, Mo, Miney and Mo, that he used to be a really benevolent mayor, until he was duped and grew paranoid because of Salem. Despite following Mari's trail, she's not here, and by the end of the set of levels, you're no closer to getting her back. When you make it back to the turtle, you learn of your next destination. En route, Mari sneaks onto the turtle and rips up the Book of Life. With even fewer answers than before, Joey and Sock tag along with the hero as he reach the galactic jungle. This is another island that's lost its color and is being led by an inefficient leader. It's some sort of shadow council. Not only are they poor at leading, there's just so many nonsensical rules being twisted to arrest a huge number of the citizens. By the time you arrive, there's only 7 left. The only help you get is from the local law enforcement agent named Click. He offers to help you out and lead you to the council. Except, of course, it's not going to be that easy. Something goes wrong every step of the way, and you finally reach the council just for it to be revealed that it's all a ruse, orchestrated by Click with the help of Wilfrey. You quickly wake up the public, and it's time to return to the turtle, with the unfortunate conclusion Mari wasn't there. There were no hints about where she could be. You found evidence of Wilfrey. There's so much evidence he's been here, but there aren't any clues leading to Heather or Mari. Luckily, we still have the pendant. Sock even has an idea of how to use it, except he takes off running. By the time you finally catch him, Sock throws the pendant into the sea and reveals that he was, in fact, Wilfrey in disguise the entire time. As he warps away, his hat stays behind, leaving the only trace of his meddling, and no clues for our crew to follow. Without the pendant and without a lead, we're just left adrift. That is until one of the remaining villagers, Crazy Barks, uses the left behind hat as a sail, gently catching the wind and guiding the island back to its original owner. You dock your boat, turtle boat, island, village on the water, whatever you want to call it. You dock at Wilfrey's Wasteland. It's a crazy mashup of locations. Not only is the island composed of chunks and motifs from each previous area, Mari is here too. She tells the entire village that she is working with Wilfrey and not being manipulated. When Joey refuses to join her, she just abducts him and flees, leaving the hero and villagers completely shattered. Beat the levels, meet the old mayor, and make your way to the Hall of Darkness. As you arrive, Joey runs out. He tells the village that he knows the truth, but he still refuses to join Wilfrey. Mari finally comes clean and reveals to the villagers why she had to leave, why she had joined with Wilfrey. If the creator succeeds in saving the world and stopping Wilfrey, the world as they know it will be destroyed. If the creator repairs the world, it will fall to pieces. Wilfrey has known this. Wilfrey was darkness incarnate from the very beginning. Wilfrey was trying to save his world from your destruction. In the final battle, the hero gets ripped to pieces and begins to lose their color. But before it's too late, the creator interferes. Wilfrey's scepter is shattered, and the hero gets back to their feet. One final duel. With the prayers of everyone you've saved, the world shakes. The creator speaks.
Let there be color.
Upon Wilfrey's defeat, he evaporates, leaving behind Heather, free of her shadow. As the villagers head back to their hometown, they all gather around the eternal flame. The first page of the Book of Life, your first drawing. This town that you've built up, the community that you helped to grow, everyone comes together as you snuff out the flame. As the world begins to fade away, Mike asks Mari what Wilfrey showed her that made her turn her back on her people. He replies solemnly, she saw Mike. In the blank void, the questions from the beginning of the game return. What do you remember about that day? It was dark and raining. What else? Thick, black smoke. What were you doing when it happened? It all happened so fast. As the screen begins to fade to black, Heather's prayer from the beginning returns. Creator, just and with just a moment of clarity, the true meaning's been revealed. God, just bring back my little brother to me. The art style falls away as the truth that Wilfrey showed Mari is revealed. 2 kids in the back of a car, Mike and Heather. There is a flash of light as she wraps her arms around her brother. You see her in a hospital. Half of her face is bandaged up as she holds her comatose brother's hand. This world was all being held together in the comatose dreams of an injured child. Wilfrey knew this. If Mike wakes up, the dream falls apart. What happens to a world when the god that dreamed it all wakes up? In the final set of pictures, Mike wakes up, embraced by his sister, and you get your first real look at the dolls that they had in the car. Mari and Joey were watching over Mike from the start. The Drawn to Life collection on the DS changes the ending substantially. Instead of a car crash, Mike just fell out of a tree and bonked his head. Either way, they both keep the big twist. That's right. It was a dream the whole time. I think this is the only piece of media where the "it was all a dream" twist actually works. This even explains Wilfrey's motivations as a character and as a villain, and the final level design. When I said it was the final duel, I didn't mean between good and evil, or the hero and Wilfrey. It's the actual choice between life and death. If Wilfrey wins, then Mike keeps sleeping. His mind was in its most vulnerable place like this. Everything he's been dreaming up began to meld and blend together. You also finally get confirmation Wilfrey isn't pure evil. He's a villain. He's a cool-ass villain, and probably one of my favorite antagonists. But he's not pure evil. When I was talking to a friend about this game, I compared it to the story The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. The suffering and pain of one person is enough to fuel and power this world. Every character you've come to know, every choice you've had to make, every challenge you've had to overcome, everything is going to be lost if there isn't a single person bearing all of this torment. Is that morally correct? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, right? The needs of the one? Near the end of the game, Joey says something that really shows his growth as a person and as a character. This isn't about saving the Raposa or the world. It's about doing what's right. Your final confrontation with Wilfrey is you making the choice to doom everyone you know to save the life of someone that doesn't even know they're in danger. And as you gather around that flame, and as you choose to snuff it out, it's over. The dream has ended. Drawn to Life, the series, has come to a close. That is the world that this sequel chooses to follow up on. That. It's a conclusion that rings with such finality that a follow-up feels nearly comedic. Drawn to Life, Two Realms opens with Mari on the beach, talking to some Raposa in a hoodie. The mysterious stranger hands over the Book of Life and tells Mari that the human world is different than the one that the Raposa inhabit. Mari then does what she does best and goes to request a hero from the creator. 2 minutes into the game, the ambiguity of the second game's ending is gone. The Raposa are still here. Nothing was lost from Mike waking up. In fact, the Raposa essentially just had a villager move to a different town. Technically too, if you want to count Heather. After the hero is made, Mari teaches them about imagination battles. Instead of full side-scroller levels, you just have these one-off Mario Maker frames. They aren't horrible, but they don't necessarily feel like there's much substance to them. In Drawn to Life 1 and 2, there's the shadow everywhere that you have to clean up, and you had to explore just to free all of the villagers and get the pages for the Book of Life. Here, in the majority of levels, you just need to make it to the door. Once you're done with the tutorial, you're allowed access to the human world. Hey, it's Mike. He's getting ganged up on by these two guys. Step in and resolve things with an imagination battle. Alright, that's done now. Mike has to go see Heather at the store. Oh, she's angry. Time for an imagination battle. Okay. Now, the shop owner accuses Mike of stealing stuff. Time for another imagination battle. Ugh. The gameplay loop really struggles in Two Realms. Instead of going into these levels to get pages from the Book of Life or to save people, you're sort of just fixing their mood. This is what Persona 5 would be like if the Phantom Thieves were scared of conflict. I'm not a hero. Now I'm a therapist. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. That night, a character appears, cloaked in darkness. Musically, they have the same leitmotif as Wilfrey, so as you may expect, this is the antagonist of the world, if you couldn't tell that from his design. He then immediately attacks you, revealing his name in the menu, Alldark. After returning to Rapoville, doing a few levels, and finally having the chance to draw something, you get to design a watch to help Mike visit the Raposa if he ever wants. Go back to deliver it, and he's fighting against the darkness himself. Grab Mike and make a break for it, and you learn something new. The shadow can only come out at night. Not only that, the times are flipped between realms. In the human world, when it's daytime, it's nighttime for the Raposa. To keep Mike safe, he ends up pulling an all-nighter in Rapoville. As night begins to set, he heads home, and is soon invited out by one of his friends, Allie, the Mari to his Joey. You tag along because you're a creep, and after a couple more levels, you've repaired the strained relationship between a father and his daughter. Shortly, after a celebration with some ice cream, a shadow almost attacks Allie. Mike warns her about it, but she thinks he's crazy and runs off. Since night is falling, the gang heads back to Rapoville and talks to Mari to get some more information about the shadow. Apparently, when you restored color to the world a few years ago, it pushed out all of the darkness, which coincidentally moved over to the human realm. Mike chooses to rush back to his town and leaves you to follow behind, where he gets confronted by Alldark, who we just saw corrupt Allie with a shadow. After a quick set of levels, Mike goes to check on Allie, who then yells at him for behaving weird, because that's what you do when your orphan friends are acting mentally unwell. Mike perpetuates the cycle of violence and takes out his frustrations on the hero. You choose to give him some space, so you return to Rapoville, solve some problems for them before going back to the human world, and seeing if you can find Mike. He's in the school hallway arguing with Alldark, who tries to make a horrible deal. He'll fix Allie if Mike does him a favor. Luckily, before Mike can, sign the contract he didn't read, Mike's friend shows up, and Alldark confronts the hero instead. It's not too difficult. There's a few levels. It's nothing impossible. If you've gotten the darkness dealt with, you head over to check on Mike. He's still upset, so Heather takes over to tell you why the whole town seems so strange. After the car accident that killed their parents, the town fought each other while trying to find an outlet for their grief. Allie was the only one to comfort Mike during all of this, hence why they got so close. Speaking of Allie, you still have to fix her. When you get to her house, she gives you some more exposition. She tells you who is at fault for the car accident. Deputy Snyder. In fact, you can see him at the end of the second game in the slideshow. He was waiting in the hospital with Heather for Mike to wake up. Ignore the trauma dumping, fix her family real quick, and then you find out that Mike vanished through a portal. Wow, it's not like we gave him a watch that takes him to another world or anything. Go back to Rapoville, do more side quests, find Mike eventually chilling in a house where he just explodes. Mari decides to tell him how she knows so much about the shadow and why she never tried to step in and save the human realm from the darkness. Wilfrey told her. Her father's murderer, the boogeyman of their world, the first to be corrupted by the darkness. He's that little dude wearing the hoodie. Mari was also too scared to act because she didn't want the darkness to return to the Raposa. Mari, the girl that repeatedly contacts a god for help. The same girl that was willing to make a deal with the devil to save everyone that she had ever known. The same girl who was willing to let everyone she knows die to save a friend. She was too scared of hypothetical consequences to even act for the past 4 years. Whatever. Maybe she was just traumatized. Mike runs away and Mari just starts to spiral. She has a very easy level too. Cheer her up, and then you run back to the human world to confront Alldark. Which you do. Barely even an inconvenience. And then you learn that Mike is going to settle things with Deputy Snyder. Do a few more Mario Maker levels, and then it's finally time to confront Alldark. After Mike and Deputy Snyder make up in front of the whole town, that is. Alldark is finally ready for his confrontation, and with a set of levels that... I mean, they aren't the worst thing ever. hurry up and beat him so that the credits can start rolling. The game ends with Joey proposing to Mari on the secret beach, and Mike telling Allie about a hero. Wilfrey leaves town to keep hunting down the shadows, and that's it. I'll really compare Two Realms to the other games in just a bit, but first, what does it have going for it? Drawn to Life Two Realms has a lot of stuff for fans of the first two games. There are a lot of Easter eggs and references. The stage design also isn't too horrible. I like the backgrounds and the world building for a big chunk of the game. Not to mention, the enemy design is just as cute and playful as ever. I do think that the strongest part of the game is the music, composed by series veteran David J. Franco. He used to go by the name Kid with Keyboard, but he still has a SoundCloud page in case you want to listen to some other stuff he's done. I put his link in the description below. Also, I want to give some praise to the world building done in the human realm. Going into this game with the knowledge that the Raposa were originally dreamed up by Mike makes a lot of sense when you see the people around town. There are characters that share similar design traits with some of the Raposa, like this guy with Crazy Bark's eyes, or Dr. Curie and Dr. Cure. Not super creative with the naming there. Even the twins that run the grocery store line up with Tubba and Bubba, the cruelly named plus-size Raposa. Intent and reality aside, it's still kinda in line for how a 10-year-old may name two larger people. There is a very clear amount of intention and heart that went into this game. But just passion is not enough. The entirety of the story takes place over 3 days. Wildly enough, it only took me 3 pages to summarize the entire game. For a story that's this rushed, it also feels grotesquely bloated. There were only 27 levels, and it really felt like maybe a third of them were necessary. Considering one of those is a tutorial, 4 were boss fights, that only gives you 4 more levels that can have any weight for the narrative. Not only does the story feel bloated, the game world does too. You used to be able to hold a button and sprint. Not anymore. Now there are just these floating fruits that give you a 5-second timer of speed. Why? Why give me a full town to explore and then punish me for trying to explore it? Why make me walk slowly? It feels like they knew there wasn't much content here, and they decided to make it extra tedious just so that way you would have to spend extra time if you wanted to see everything that they had to offer. Both of the DS games used significantly more primitive software, and yet the worlds you got to explore were so vast and unique. I remember being amazed at the effect that the acorn gun had in the second set of levels. I remember replaying some of those levels just because you can give your characters wings, and I really liked how the movement felt. When I first saw Water Song and the color was draining out of it, I was terrified. I wanted to save the people there. I had no idea what was going on. Rapoville has so much charm and character. The inhabitants are all likable, and getting to further develop your city with a new addition every level really makes it feel like you are a hero. You have an impact. Speaking of cities, there's only 2 in the game, Rapoville and Bellevue, the human world. There are references to the different islands from the second game around Rapoville, but all that they make me think is that there should be more to all of this. Personally, another really big disappointment is just how little drawing there is in the game. I'm not an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but when I play a game called Drawn to Life, I expect there to be more than 10 things to draw. Between the first 2 games, there are over 300 art pieces, easily, that you get to design and color and draw, do whatever you want with. Is it wrong for me to expect there to be more than 1/30th of what made the series something I cherish in the long-awaited sequel? Speaking of the art, the whole game feels like it's just lost some of the charm that it had originally. These weird designs are smoothed over and sterilized, which may have been an attempt at making the game look more modern, but it really kills the style. In the worst way possible, this feels like a fan project. In fact, I'm certain it is. The only way this would be made is if fans were working on it. Unfortunately, it loses what makes the game so special in the first place. And finally, I really just want to compare the world and experience made by the first 2 games and the experience of the third. As far as reviews go, I know it doesn't really make too much sense to compare games in a series and have that actually affect the score, but I'll explain why I'm doing it when it's score time. The DS games start with a creation myth, a god creating a world and then distancing itself. From the literal depths of darkness, a voice cries out for a savior. Mari and Joey bring about an avatar of a higher being. It's so on the nose that even Rudolph is jealous. It's Mary and Joseph. And together, they bring about the walking form of a higher power. You play as Jesus. And if you look at Wilfrey's fall from grace, it's entirely because he tried to usurp the Creator, putting himself on the same level before falling into darkness. On a smaller scale, this is a battle between good and evil, but if you zoom out, this is a war between God and the devil, creation and destruction, limitless bounty and unending consumption. Two Realms has Aldark. Wilfrey is a character who succumbed to his own inner darkness and it forced itself out. He gets corrupted. He was ruined by his own free will. His name has become a mark of shame. Aldark is just that's his motivation. He wants to be evil and bad. He wants to corrupt everything bright and make it all dark. This is a dude with no motivation. He just likes being evil. Wilfrey is conniving. He would sabotage your plans and put out roadblocks every step of the way, because if he can stall you enough, he wins. You couldn't continue past Watersong unless you beat him. You couldn't continue past Lava Steam unless you beat him. You can't leave the Galactic Jungle unless you beat him. Every stop on your journey is another trial that you have to overcome if you want to stop his plans. Aldark makes your friends angry, and they act out of character. Why? Is it because he wants to isolate Mike and have people distance themselves from him? Why? This isn't me being rhetorical either. I genuinely don't know. I don't know why our main antagonist is being an antagonist. I had read a theory that he was the darkness that possessed Wilfrey, and without Wilfrey's brain, there's just the pure aggression and maliciousness left behind. That's what makes up Aldark. And I mean, this type of villain can work. I mean, okay, so compare Girahim to Demise in Skyward Sword, or Zavok and Xena in Sonic Lost World. It's clear who's in charge, even if they aren't the ones setting up traps for you. Comparing these characters, it's pretty obvious that's not the case for Wilfrey and Aldark. If that were the relationship between those two, then Aldark on his own isn't nearly as threatening. Compare. Wilfrey lurks in every shadow and watches you around the clock. The instant the mayor is left unguarded in the first game, he gets shanked and left to pass all alone. Wilfrey then manages to convince the girl that he helped to orphan to side with him and further sabotage your quest to stop him. He makes you question whether or not you are doing the right thing. Aldark is only able to come out at night and is stuck with just messing with people's mental state. This is a terrifying concept, but we never see anything actually come about from it. Even if we want to give Aldark the benefit of the doubt, give him credit for everything going wrong in the town, that is a few angry children, a dying marriage, and an orphan being unable to forgive the grieving adult that caused his loss. That isn't a scary villain. That is a small town in Alabama without the drugs. Aldark could have been genuinely scary. If he had chosen to isolate Mike, make the town people distrust each other, and further drive him into a dark corner, make him completely isolated and utterly alone. If Mike was being molded into some sort of replacement for Wilfrey, and we had to rescue him from embracing the darkness, That could have been something with real stakes instead of just playing a watered down version of Mega Man Battle Network's story. Wait a sec. That's just Kingdom Hearts. My last big comparison, it's gonna sound like a nitpick. I want to talk about the ending. Not that there's no real satisfying confrontation against Aldark. I mean the final credits scroll. In the first game, in Drawn to Life 1, the song playing over the final credits is an adaptation of the game's theme as a duet between a male singer and a female singer. It could be interpreted as a love ballad, but it gives more the sense that there's just a closeness, and any major separation will irreparably damage these two people. This is a conversation between Mari and Joey as he's making his decision between following his dream or staying with his best friend, and Mari is trying to be a good friend and support him, even though it's tearing her apart. Joey's final decision to stay is in line with his character, and it reaffirms what is most important to him: his community and his friends. Next chapter follows the same suit. A female singer lamenting the situation that an unnamed male character finds himself in. Someone is in a world where they are the creator of the story and painting it full of color. Unfortunately, he's spent so long in the dream that he isn't connected to real life anymore. This isn't a conversation like the first game's credits. This is a heartfelt plea for someone to wake up and return to who they were. It's Heather, desperately trying anything to wake her brother up. So, how does Two Realms end? They play a remix of the theme songs from the series with a collection of people snapping in the background. It doesn't feel like a proper send-off. This is the game equivalent of having the last episode of a TV series be one of those clip show recap episodes. I wanted to like this game. Not just because it's a continuation of a series that means a whole lot to me, but because then I could tell others about it. The whole time I was playing it at the start of this month, I had this huge smile on my face. Rapoville is designed really similarly to how it looked on the DS. All of these characters were back, even the smaller ones. Not only were they here, it just felt like I was seeing some great friends that I had really missed. I know that people that loved this series worked on it. I mean, there was clearly heart going into a lot of the interactions. You don't just work to recreate an art style and village layout in a new medium with this much effort for something that there's no passion for. But the flaws in this game are still there. The glitches that make some levels unbeatable are still there. The story that completely assassinates Wilfrey's character is still there. Most of all, I'm just left confused and baffled by this game. People that haven't played the first two games will be lost by familiar lore that isn't explained. People that have played the first two games probably won't enjoy the lack of level variety and focus on new characters that there's no connection to. I wish I knew who this game was for. I said it at the start. My dream score for Drawn to Life 2 Realms is a 9.1. But this isn't a dream. And I'm no Mike. It's time to wake up. My final score for Drawn to Life 2 Realms is 4.3 out of 10. I try to be completely honest and transparent. It really hurts me to give it that low of a score. But I can feel that deep down, if this wasn't connected to a game and a series that I loved and replayed incessantly when I was younger, I may have even scored it in the threes. If anything, the saving grace that it had was that I at least felt something after playing it: irritation and anger. I enjoyed a huge chunk of my time playing this, but I know that I was in the target demographic. I was the target that they were hoping would buy their game. It worked. I did. And now I can close it and place it back in my library.
Hey, it's been a while. Sorry for the huge delay. If this video had been uploaded when I had wanted it to, you would have known that I was about to be moving. It's been about 3 months since then. I'll have a video explaining the huge delay soon, but for now, I'm thinking something a little bit lighter. The heck was that? Yeah? Look, I just said I'd upload a video explaining everything.
Not good enough.
Okay, then there will be another video as soon as I can.
Punishment.
Okay, I'll play a bad game. How about that?
Horror.
Wait, like for Halloween? It's been over a week.
Punishment.
Ugh, fine. If it'll get you to stop groaning at me, sure. But nothing too bad. Like, I get to choose.
Coward.
Yeah, that's me. Well, you heard the scary guy. See you next time.